All right, UFC Seattle full card recap. I'm just gonna run through it real quick. I'm in a bit of a rush. I also want to watch Fundora versus Thurman, which is going on right now. Just started, so I don't want to miss that. So I'm gonna go quick. Main event, we had Joe Pyfer beat Israel Adesanya. It was an interesting fight to start. Adesanya looked decent. I thought he was getting the better of most of the striking exchanges, but he clearly wasn't fighting like he used to. He looked slower. His footwork seemed much worse. He was more intent on staying in the pocket, and that was just never going to work for him. He's never been a good, pocket boxer. Never been good at fighting, inside range. He wants to be on the outside, and it showed. Like in the first round, he was having good success, but he got cracked a couple times. The second round, same thing. He's having a lot of success. There's a couple things that I liked, like good looks that I saw from him during the hand fight. He would get, hand to hand with both hands. So Pyfer didn't really have control, couldn't block his head, and Adesanya feinted a question mark kick, and didn't pull the trigger. And if he threw it, it would have landed pretty well, because Pyfer had both of his hands low. And then he had the same look a couple more times and just didn't throw it. At the end of the first round, Pyfer got a takedown, was able to implement his grappling, landed a couple ground and pound shots. But for the most part, it seems like Adesanya was doing a pretty good job at resisting the grappling, stuffing the takedowns, preventing them in the clinch. He also reversed the position in the clinch a couple times and broke away. And then in the second round, he gets shot on, gets taken down right away, right into half guard. Pyfer goes for a knee slice right into Mount. And then they go back and forth between Mount and the back Mount a couple times. And then with about a minute left in the round, Adesanya gives up his back and Pyfer starts punching. And yeah, that's a pretty justified stoppage. It was a very Herb Dean stoppage. Herb Dean loves to stop fights there. Not saying it's a bad stoppage, but if you watch Herb Dean fights, even like the Kyle Nelson fight earlier, which I'll get to in a second, that's how he loves to stop fights. Just anytime there's any sort of controversy, maybe not controversy, but any sort of questionability, Herb Dean's now's the time to step in. My general rule of thumb is I know you should be intelligently defending yourself, but if a guy's not concussed, Adesanya didn't get dropped. He got taken down, his back given up. Same thing with Moreno versus Tyrell. You got to let the guy, fight, take a couple punches. When Pyfer's fully winding up and swinging, that's where he's most susceptible to being reversed or losing position. So I would like to see that go on for a bit longer, but that might be because I picked Adesanya, and I'm not the biggest Pyfer fan, so I did want to see Adesanya win it. But good performance from Pyfer. Adesanya's ranked number 4, but that's kind of just because he's not been that active since he lost the belt, so he hasn't had time to slide down the rankings. And middleweight is not very top heavy. You got a couple guys like a Navajo, Strickland, Duplessis who are going to be perennially at the top for a while. But Adesanya was number 4, but he's probably not, top 4 level. When you look at his recent performances, obviously a 4-fight losing streak. So yeah, Pyfer will be, he's going to climb the rings. I don't think he'll be top 4, but he's definitely going to be probably a fight away from a title fight, which is probably good for the division. I don't think Pyfer's all that good, but he looked good tonight, and that's all that matters. So yeah. I think Adesanya should probably retire. He could avoid power punches for a bit and fight a couple, shitty fighters. He could definitely beat a Vettori. He could definitely beat, even Brendan Allen, I think, would out-grapple him and finish him on the ground. So I think Adesanya probably should retire. He doesn't have the speed and the footwork that he needs to be who he was, the fighter that won the belt and defended the belt as much as he did. And even the guy that knocked out Pereira in the rematch. He doesn't have the tools to be that fighter anymore, so I think he should probably hang it up. He could probably have a really big boxing match against someone. He could fight Jake Paul probably and make a good amount of money, but I think he'd probably get slept by Jake Paul because Adesanya can't box. That's always been his thing. In the pocket, he's had one moment of success ever in the pocket, and it was, I guess, 2. It was against Whitaker in the first fight and Pereira in the second fight. I feel like if he didn't have those moments, he'd be remembered a lot differently. Because his boxing is just not very good on the inside, and he fought like he wanted to box on the inside, and it didn't pay off. So Pyfer got it. But yeah, maybe Pyfer will be exciting. I just don't think he's that good. We saw him get schooled by Hermanson. I don't think he's looked that good in any of his wins until tonight. And even then, I don't think he looked amazing. So, yeah, but we'll see. I don't know. I didn't think he'd win this fight, so maybe I'm wrong about him. Next fight down the card was Alexia Grasso versus Maycee Barber. I was super wrong. I went 6-6-1 on this card. Probably should have been 7-5-1 because I feel like, 7-5 because I feel like 7-6 I would be, I guess. Because I was pretty confident Yanez won that fight and they robbed him, but I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, Maycee Barber was looking decent. Grasso was definitely getting the better of the exchanges, but Barber was controlling the pace, was pushing forward, was backing Grasso up to the fence, which I thought would be the opposite. I thought Grasso would be the more aggressive of the two. But yeah, Barber gets cracked a couple times when he comes to the pocket. But it's, it's Grasso. I'm sorry, Barber gets cracked. I think I said Grasso. But yeah, Grasso has no power, so it's not much of a problem. So Barber's waiting for it, and boom, she's out cold. She gets dropped by a right cross. Grasso throws like a shovel uppercut to hit her while she's on her knees, and then from the momentum of throwing that punch, she punches in the rear naked choke, jumps in the back. But Barber was already out. She got knocked out by the punch. She got even more knocked out by the follow-up punch, and then the rear naked choke, I guess, he put her out even worse. It was weird. I think I'll explain what I think happened, but Barber got put out. The ref stopped the fight, and then she enters in on a single leg takedown on the ref, so she's clearly out. She starts to get up to her knees, and then she just falls to her back, throws her arm out, and she's out cold. She's blinking, so she's conscious, but she's like in a weird state of like limbo. I think she was having a seizure is what was happening, because she was blinking, and then she was like spam blinking like an assault rifle. So I think she might have been having a seizure. She did have a seizure before her last fight. She was supposed to fight, what's her name, Erin Blanchfield, like about a year ago, maybe I think May of last year. And that fight got canceled because right before it, she had a seizure because of like a botched weight cut. So I think that's probably why she got chinned so easily by Grasso. I mean, it was a good punch, but it is Grasso, and it is, Grasso is basically a strawweight. So you shouldn't be going out to punches like that. And I think the damage to the brain from having a seizure and, being dehydrated and having a seizure, probably going to, affect her chin. And I think that's why it was so weird when she went out. So yeah, hopefully she's okay. Hopefully she never fights again. I would be fine if Grasso never fought again because 99% of her fights are boring as fuck. But good fight. That was actually a good fight. This card was very good, despite my pessimism towards it. And that's kind of what, if you look at the description of my prediction video, I said this card should be shit, but I said like in before people, or this event is great, and people comment like I told you so. But yeah, the card was pretty good. The featured fight, Michael Chiesa versus Niko Price, not much of a fight. Chiesa immediately enters in the grappling, not a ton of striking before. Actually, he gets a takedown stuffed and pulls mount, but he wrestles up, gets Chiesa's back, jumps on, throws in the body triangle. Niko Price does like a front flip and slams Chiesa's face into the mat. Doesn't do anything, and then Chiesa puts in the rear naked choke, and Price taps immediately. He's got no grimace on his face. He's got no struggle. He doesn't hand fight at all. He taps right away. He wasn't there to win the fight, if we're being honest. He was there to get, maybe a miracle knockout by doing a front flip and having, Chiesa slam his face in the mat. But he didn't fight the rear naked choke at all. He was there to lose the fight. And he did. And then Chiesa gets a promo package for his retirement. Plenty of people have their reasons why this might be happening. But Niko Price gets nothing. He just retires silently, probably. I think he was trying to, get on the broadcast and announce his retirement, but they just did a 16-minute long, retirement package for Michael Chiesa. They don't got time for Niko Price, so he's gonna retire silently. Niko Price did much more for the UFC, I think, than Michael Chiesa. Other than I guess the bus incident, Michael Chiesa did save the UFC, the biggest fight of all time. But Niko Price had a ton of bangers. He had some great knockouts, and Chiesa was a pretty boring, mediocre fighter for most of his run. And he got a nice little win streak to end his career because the UFC owed him a favor. So good for him. Sucks for Niko Price, but I don't honestly care about either of them at all. Because if they didn't retire, they would just go on to have boring, shitty main card slots. So good for both of them. Lerryan Douglas, or Lerryan, or Lerryan. I'm pretty sure it is Lerryan. That's how the commentator was saying it. Lerryan Douglas versus Julian Erosa. Domination. Douglas was very, very patient. He noticed right away that he was clearly having more success in the striking. He started throwing these left hooks, looking to set up the overhand right that he landed on Cam Teague, like I said he would. And he threw a couple of them, and then, trying to find the timing and the spacing for the overhand. And then he threw a left hook overhand, and he threw the fuck out of these overhand rights. He was throwing them like, a fastball. He was throwing them as hard as he could. And none of them landed. So he's like, fuck, I'm gonna find another setup. And he lands a jab right on Erosa's chin, and it shakes the shit out of him. Like, it clearly stumbles him. And then, another brief pause. Douglas throws another jab, drops Erosa, and then he just puts it on him. He misses a couple strikes. He's kind of overthrowing the fuck out of everything, but he's missing by a hair. And I think Erosa kind of got lucky with what landed and what didn't. He was just aimlessly winding his head back, kind of like Adesanya did in the main event, just kind of leaning back, being the taller man, and just getting missed by these big strikes. But anytime Douglas landed anything, including these like stiff jabs, it was dropping. Erosa was hurting him. He was also landing a lot of good low kicks. Erosa's lead leg was beat the fuck up. After the first minute, he switched to southpaw. And even then, Douglas was throwing inside low kicks with the rear leg. So leg kicks were definitely part of his game plan. The left hand overhand right was definitely part of his game plan. But yeah, he hurt Erosa, threw a couple follow-up strikes. The ref even gave Erosa a lot of time to get up. He got dropped like 3 or 4 times, and 2 of them were by jabs. So he was out of it for the last like minute of the fight. But Douglas looked phenomenal. He looked like Ilia Topuria looked against Damon Jackson. Watch that fight. It's like a mirror image. It's like the exact same fight. You got a tall, lanky grappler who can't get anything going, and then you got a shorter, power punching boxer who's being really patient and throwing big punches and just missing them until he, finds a big one to stop the fight. A little bit cleaner of a finish for Topuria, but a very, very similar fight. Actually, I just watched that fight yesterday, so it's fresh in the mind, but great performance by Douglas. Looked unstoppable. Excited to see him, especially, Erosa's given some people hard fights. Like, he beat Christian Rodriguez. He gave Melquizael Costa, who's now in the rankings, a fight of the night. Like I said in the prediction video, Costa does like to give people like that opportunities, but Douglas took great advantage. And it looked really good. Erosa's got decent win. Like, he gave a good fight to Paddy Pimblett. Like I said, he beat Christian Rodriguez. So definitely not a slouch. Douglas, I think, is going to be legit. Whatever's in the water at Cub Swanson's gym needs to be in the water at every gym, because that gym is on fire right now with Danny Silva, underdog, knocking out Curtis Campbell, and then Lerryan Douglas looking unstoppable. Or Lerryan, sorry. And then before that, one of my favorite performances I've watched like this year, it's Yousri Belgaroui. I think that's how you pronounce it. I could be wrong. Could be completely wrong. But he looked unfucking stoppable against Mansur Abdul Malik. The fight went exactly how I thought. I thought the finish would come a little sooner. Belgaroui, however you pronounce his name, Yousri, was very patient in the first round, but he was landing a lot of low kicks, a lot of stuff to the body. He was definitely, starting to get his timing down, starting to slow down Abdul Malik, trying to avoid the grappling. Abdul Malik, not a ton of success in the grappling, shot a lot, similar to Asmat Bakoev, where he would shoot, he wouldn't get it, he would end up in the clinch, and then Belgaroui would turn him around and beat him up with knees and elbows in the clinch. He landed a ton of big strikes. Probably could have got the finish sooner if he just kept it cleaner and broke from the grappling sooner and just try to fight at distance, but he probably could have got knocked out doing that. So probably the smart move, beat him up in the clinch. And basically at the beginning of the third round, he rocked him real bad, and Abdul Malik was rocked for the rest of the fight. He's basically just chasing Abdul Malik around, beating him up, throwing knees in the clinch, elbows in the clinch, a couple good jabs, good outside low kicks, and Abdul Malik is just like wandering around, throwing spinning elbows and trying to fluke a finish. Misses spinning elbow, Belgaroui grabs him, gets the collar tie, throws a knee right on the chin. Abdul Malik face plants, he's out cold. Or he's not out cold, but he's out bad. It's very similar to like Khalil Roundtree versus Yuri Prochazka, where it's like a guy is very beat up, very gassed out, and he gets hit with a big strike and he can't support himself and he just falls, can't catch himself, face plants. Great performance by Belgaroui. He's going to be a fucking problem at middleweight. I think he beats Joe Pyfer. I think he beats Adesanya for sure. Adesanya could take him down like he did Pereira, but his counter grappling looked really good against a really strong guy. Honestly, he would beat Adesanya if they fought today. So, great performance by Yousri. Terrence McKinney versus Callum Nelson. I feel like a lot of people are ignoring how absurd this fight was. Terrence McKinney didn't land a strike. He landed one strike to the face. He landed a really stiff jab about 2 seconds into the fight. He landed a good knee to the body, and then he threw a head kick. Didn't even land. It hit Callum Nelson in the guard, but it knocked him off balance. And then Callum Nelson fell on his butt and shelled up and just let McKinney watch that finish. McKinney doesn't land a single strike on his face. Not one. Literally not one strike other than the jab to start off the fight lands on Callum Nelson's face. He just gets punched around the guard. Not even on the guard, straight on the gloves. On the gloves that are covering his temples. And he doesn't want to get up. He doesn't want to keep fighting. And McKinney gets a stoppage. I mean, good performance by him, but Callum Nelson, that was fucking pathetic. I hope McKinney gets a performance bonus. I thought it was locked in based on the prelims, but there was a couple really good performances in the main. Grasso's definitely getting one. I hope Chiesa doesn't get one because he was the minus 900 favorite, but Douglas probably gets one. Belgaroui might get one. So it's going to be hard for McKinney to get one, especially because it was kind of like oh, is he going to get the finish? Oh, he got the finich. Kind of like the same as Pyfer, where it's like, is Adesanya going to get up? No? Okay, the fight's over. So it wasn't like a super big, McKinney's got better knockouts in his career, better finishes with submissions too. But he got the finish bonus, but he should get the bonus for real eventually. And honestly, I think it's going to happen because if you saw the tweets they were putting up from fighters, or the threads posts they were putting up from fighters, everyone's like, oh, a sick performance by McKinney. Glad to see he's finally going to get a bonus. So I don't think they put those all up there if he doesn't get a bonus, Musayev versus Bahamondes really sucks for Bahamondes. Musayev, I think, looked really good. People are going to underrate this performance because of the events that happened in the fight, but he actually did look pretty good, especially in the third round. The first round, Bahamondes, tit for tat on the outside. I think he definitely gets the better of it. Lands a couple big strikes. One of the judges gave round 1 to Musayev. That's a little ridiculous. I don't see how that's possible. I think he got a takedown with like 10 seconds left or something. I don't really remember. But round 2, Bahamondes comes out, lands a clean 1-2 right on the chin of Musayev, drops him. Musayev turns his back. Bahamondes throws a couple big, follow-up shots, and then he goes for a suplex, and Musayev just grabs the cage, stops the takedown, turns around, shoots a takedown himself. Not a very good entry because he's rocked, but Bahamondes is like, fuck it, I can get a finish here. Pulls a guillotine, doesn't get the guillotine. Musayev postures up, throws a big elbow, cuts him up right above the eye. He's bleeding like crazy. One of the bloodiest fight this year, one of the bloodiest fights I can remember in UFC history. Bahamondes cut super bad, and then Musayev grabs both of his hands and throws a couple, I think like 2 or 3, like clearly intentional headbutts that land and probably fuck up the cut even more. Probably hurt, Bahamondes. And he clearly wins the round. Arguable 10-8 if he didn't get, or definite 10-8 if he didn't get dropped. Not arguable 10-8, like he got dropped. He's not going to get a 10-8 there, but he's a really good wrestler. Round 2, clearly wins it. Round 3, more of the same. Not as much ground and pound, not as much damage, but Musayev does take down Bahamondes and hold him down for the first 4 minutes of round 3. And then Bahamondes gets back up. He gets back control. I think he tried a rear naked choke. No real success. So rounds 2 and 3 go to Musayev. He gets the unanimous decision. One of the judges, like I said, gave him round 1, which is kind of ridiculous. But yeah, good performance other than the egregious cheating. And if he doesn't cheat like that, he probably gets finished in round 2. And if he doesn't get finished in round 2, he definitely loses round 2, which puts him down 2 rounds, and he wouldn't be able to win the fight. It would have been a split decision, I guess, because some judge gave him round 1, but he would have needed to finish in the 3rd if he didn't cheat in round 2. And I don't like him getting a win like that. And the UFC probably doesn't either, so I wouldn't be surprised if he gets cut, assuming the UFC doesn't want to go back to Azerbaijan, because Musayev is not a big name. And what he's known for is, most people probably missed the fight where he lost to Oralai, and the rest of the people that know him probably know him as the guy that cheated like crazy against Bahamondes and kind of won that bullshit win. So I don't know if Musayev is long for the UFC, but he definitely is a solid fighter. He looked good in this one. His grappling looked much better than it did in a couple of his other performances, so good for him. Lance Gibson versus Chase Hooper. Yeah, Chase Hooper, like I said, if the guy's walking backwards, he has nothing he can do. He has no ability on the feet. Fails a takedown. I think he failed 2 takedowns, and then he shot him for the clinch. Gibson framed off through a perfect elbow right on the point of the chin. Great elbow. Hurts Hooper bad. And then as he sort of bends down to almost fall over, Gibson throws a switch kick right on his chin. It reminds me of whoever Cowboy did that sick combo to, the one they always show in slow motion. I think it was Rick Story, where he throws a jab, a 2 to the body, and then as the guy keels over, he kicks him right in the face. Gibson did kind of that, rocked him real bad, and then he threw a couple big knees in the clinch to Hooper. Hooper goes down. The ref stops the fight in kind of a weird way. It was in the middle of a scramble. The ref pushes over Gibson onto Hooper, and it makes it look like Hooper could have got a decent grappling position, bottom half guard, and worked his way up. But the fight was called off. And honestly, I don't hate the stoppage bad. Gibson looked good in that fight. He was probably going to get a finish if the ref did nothing. But the fact that the ref pushed him into a scramble made it look really bad. Tyrell Fortune versus Tybura. Fuck Bruce Buffer, bro. Why'd he do that to me? I put money on Tybura because I thought he had good odds. And round 1, I thought he pretty clearly lost, just got outstruck. Round 2, I thought he could have won. It was pretty close. Round 3, I thought he did win. So I thought he could have been up, 2-1. I hear them read off the decision. I'm like, holy shit, they gave it to Tybura. And then I remembered they said 30-27. I'm like, oh fuck, they probably got the names wrong. And then what do you know? Tyrell Fortune storms out of the cage. He's pissed off. And then they bring him back in to announce. And the crowd goes crazy because he's the American. He looked solid. He looked really quick. But he didn't look that good. Tybura's a guy that really takes advantage of people being unathletic and not even being not athletic. Beating Tybura doesn't prove that you are athletic. It proves that you aren't not athletic. But he looked quick. He was able to stuff the takedowns. The simple tricks that Tybura tried on the feet weren't super successful. So Tyrell Fortune is probably going to be a decent ranked heavyweight, but he's definitely not going to beat guys like Blades or Kuniev or fucking, Gon, Aspinall, Volkov, those guys. He's going to be outside the top, 6 or whatever, but he's probably going to be a perennial guy that's in that range of Spivak, Tybura, Mick Parkin, Mario Pinto is probably going to end up there too. So another fucking boring heavyweight we have to deal with, but whatever. That was a decent fight. I don't hate it. Casey O'Neill knocked out Gabriel Fernandez. Looked solid. Fernandez, I don't know how she went out from that. She got cracked, and then she got took a 1-2 against the fence. I thought O'Neill looked pretty shit in that fight, but she got the finish. Good for her. She had a moment on the mic, I think. I don't know. She's impossible to understand. She fucking talk like this. She's got like a weird Scottish accent and like it's kind of Australian. It's very annoying. So I wasn't listening, but good for her. She got the win. I picked her, so I'm not mad. Navajo Sterling versus Bruna Lopez. Sterling gets a finish finally. Kind of a tit for tat fight. Looked like it was going to be a Navajo Sterling kind of decision fest. And then when the second round started, he started throwing like real heat, and Bruna Lopez just doesn't move his head at all. So yeah, I think he dropped him and finished him on the ground. Whatever. Simone versus Yanez. This is where I'm pissed off. Yanez pretty clearly won that fight in my opinion. I thought he won rounds 1, 2, and 3. Definitely round 1 clearly. Definitely round 3 clearly with the knockdown. Arguable 10-8. Wasn't quick to score to 10-8. I thought it was a clear 10-9 because the round is pretty close before the knockdown. But round 1, I thought he clearly won. He just outstruck Simone. He landed better. Simone landed a good strike, but Yanez landed a couple good strikes. And Simone had no success in the grappling. And round 2 is kind of the same story. Like Yanez had a lot more success in the striking round 2, but Simone had like 2 minutes of control time. So I guess that's enough for all 3 judges to give Simone rounds 1 and 2. And then 2 of them gave it 10-8 in round 3. I think every scorecard was wrong. But it's a draw. They both stay in the UFC. But my crafty underdog pick should have won. And then Thainara versus Bruna Brazil. I didn't really watch it. I'm guessing Thainara just had better success in the grappling. I watched the first round, and Bruna Brazil switched on the feet. But she must have got work in the grappling. So yeah, that was the card. I'm going to see if they announced the of the night awards. Let's see. Nope, they're streaming the post-fight press conference right now. So I'm just going to guess that the awards were for, there's going to be no fight of the night. It'll be probably Grasso, Chiesa, McKinney, Douglas, if I had to guess. I don't know. Maybe O'Neal. I don't know. But yeah, solid card. Actually, a pretty good card. It was a lot of, I feel like a couple times a year we have these like wild cards where a lot of shit like doesn't make sense. Like in my memory, UFC Atlantic City, I think it was Fior versus Blanchfield. Every fight didn't make sense. A bunch of fouls, a bunch of bad judging, a bunch of bad reffing, but it kind of makes it fun. UFC Vancouver last year, kind of the same thing. Just like weird stoppages, bad ref moments, bad judging, but controversy that's kind of exciting. There's a buzz on MMA Twitter. I don't hate that. Decent card. I don't think anyone on this card that was like super hyped up really had a great performance. The only people I'm really excited to see again are Douglas, Belgaroui. Musayev might have an interesting fight down the road. Yanez is always fun. I don't know. Not the best card. Like Adesanya Pyfer, I don't think was a super high level fight. The co-main event, not a super high level fight, but it was all fun. So, yeah, let me know what you thought of the card. Comment if you want to hear more about a certain fight or something. You can check me out on Twitter. The link is in the description. I've tweeted most of the event. I'll be watching Fundora versus Thurman, assuming the fight is not already over. But yeah, on to better and brighter things. There's a card next week. I'll have my predictions and my recap of that sometime this week. So yeah, like the video, share the video, subscribe if you want to see more. You can also watch my predictions and recaps going back to the beginning of last year. I've got a playlist on my channel with all of that. Yeah, thank you for listening.